Today, it's cut day. I have some propagations that need to be done with the Monsteras that I have kicking around. I have this lovely gem, Monstera Albo. It's a cutting that I got from someone nearby, so Sarah, appreciate you. We're finally going to get around to it. And then I have this Monstera Aurea that has just been kind of sitting out in the back of my cabinet, and I feel that it's going to be time to get it cut up. So in this video, I am going to show you where I'm making the cuts, why I'm making the cuts there, and show you which mediums I'm using and why. And not just to say, hey, this is what I do, but I'll show you progress from some of my other plants. So yeah, I appreciate you coming by. My name is Nathan, Clueless Plant Duo. We're going to get set up. Yeah, we'll get this done. All right. So this one, it has quite a bit of aerial roots coming off of it, which is going to be very advantageous for us. And what I'd like to be able to do is to cut in different locations so that way each piece will have an aerial root, which will at least give it something to pull from, since you're not going to have any base roots out of this. But we're not going to just willy-nilly just cut wherever we want. We are going to be looking for an auxiliary bud somewhere where we know that another leaf is going to be popping out of this. So let's see if we can get this shown to you. So we have one right there. Okay. And then we have another one right here. I don't know if you're able to see that. I'll try to take some extra footage if I don't. And one right here. So these are the little spots that you'll get your new growth. So I think my first cut is going to be right here. So first thing, I got scissors, my alcohol. I'm always making sure that these are cleaned, so that way when we do any cutting, I'm not passing any bacteria to the plant. So let's see here. I have a bud here. I have a bud there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut right there. We'll let that one dry up. And then I have another one here, and one down here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll turn these into wet sticks. So I will cut one above there. And I have auxiliary bud here, so I'm going to take these and see about that. And then I do have another one here. So I think I'm going to take this leaf off. All right. So I do have another auxiliary bud right here. Some aerial root. So I think I'm just going to cut there. And then with that cut, I have another bud underneath here, so we'll let that get out of there. So I think that's what we're going to do for these. That's going to be the, I'll throw that out here. I want to see what we have for this. So it's just been damp paper right now. Now, I can almost guarantee you that this is going to be grabbing on really well. Well, it's definitely been in here for a little bit. Have to be a little bit careful with this. Try not to damage these micro roots. Oh, they're so white though. So nice. Well, this might take a little while. So apparently we shouldn't leave it in there quite that long, but well, I think that's about where I'm going to hold off with that. There it is right there. Some good roots. So what I've decided to do is I think I'm going to start with the Albo. And as you can see, this is the auxiliary bud. So this is where our new leaf's going to come out. And if you can see how it's green with a white strip down the middle, which means that it should be getting most of the green with a white strip or some kind of patch. That's what it should give out. So we will find out in due time if that is actually the way it's going to happen. So, but normally I would try to just give something a pull right off the hop. I don't know if I actually want to do that. I think I do. So if you look at this one, so this is my other Albo. When I got this one, it was basically the same thing. This is like a mid cutting. You can see the top and the bottom has been cut. So in this one, you can see where it had been cut down here. And then all I did was make sure that the root went into my moss pool. And since then, it has established itself. It's giving me another leaf. And then you have another one that's trying to get into the moss pool right there. So I've had some pretty decent luck by doing it just into the moss pool. And then from there, I have actual like aeroid mix in the pot so that way when I'm watering my moss pools, it will drain fairly easily. And then on top of that, it's going into the actual substrate that I prefer to be living in. So I think I'm going to probably use this pot. It's a little bit big, for the amount of roots, but if I'm going to throw a pole on it, just so that it was like this one, where I won't have to give it anything for a little while. Winter's on its way, so we're going to start getting into all the other issues and problems that are available with that. So I'm going to get some moss out here. And I think what I'm going to do is I have an aeroid mix I have here. So I will start with putting a little bit in the bottom for that. And then I'm going to take this. What I'm going to do is just get that kind of set up, started. Normally, I would have what's the word I'm looking for? I have a chopstick. Normally I have a chopstick to help feed all this down. So anyways, I'm going to let these roots basically go. Stand up a little bit. I'm going to let those roots go into there. And then I'm going to get this root put into the moss itself. So I have one in there. And then I have some that is going to be coming out the bottom. So that's the way that's going to be. I'll use this for now. Try to get that pinched in there. So I'm trying to keep it. This is the way it's growing up. So one leaf, two leaves. I'm trying to make sure that it's oriented the way that I would like it to be growing, so I don't have to make any adjustments to it later. So normally I don't try to compact this very much, but since I'm trying to get it to hold a little bit better, I am going to compact the bottom part a little bit more. And I'm going to fill it right up so that I know that I can get a cup in there. All right, so now it's a little bit compacted. If I throw the cup on top there, it'll still be grabbing hold of that and it'll start feeding everything down there. So roots are going down, plus have some directly into the moss. Now I'll top my aeroid. So if you can see the aeroid mix, there's coca coir, bark, leca, perlite, large and small. And then everything else is going to allow it to drain freely. There we go. Okay, that is one done. So if you're wondering what mix I'm using, so I have it here. So this is the moss that I use. I get it off Amazon. I believe it's 4 liters. 4 liters. And I keep everything into my own moss bucket. Now this would maybe take 2/3 of this brick when I break it up would actually fill this. It's very deceiving. It looks like there's not a lot, but it goes a long way. So there's a kind of FYI for that one. With these wet sticks, I also still like to do the moss. But I also like to mix it with large perlite. So you see here, right? This is what that would look like, right? This is a Burl Marx Flame, one basically leaf on it, and it's in just moss and perlite. So the moss will give my water retention, but then the perlite's going to give the roots lots of air, right, to keep it going. So it has done well with that. Also with the Monstera Aurea, it's also in the same mix, where just lots of perlite and moss. And then I'll also point out this too. When you're looking at the benefits of a pole or not, when this was cut, you could see the spacing between the nodes was a little bit larger. And then when I actually got it onto a moss pole, on how much closer the internodal spacing became. With good watering, fertilizing, giving it something to actually climb, it will see the benefit. And the leaves at least have been slowly sizing up. Again, it takes a little while to establish new roots, but once you do, then it kind of takes off. So that's the system that I use. So I'm going to get my potting stuff here. I think the first thing I'm going to do will be these wet sticks. So I got another bowl. All right. Just throw some moss in there. I don't have very good luck in finding this large perlite around. There's one store nearby me that I seem to be able to get it. I haven't been able to find it on Amazon anywhere. But if you guys know where you can get them, you know what I mean, pinky size, right? Then yeah, I'd like to be able to try to track some more down, because I have not had very much luck trying to keep that in stock, and I use it quite a bit, so I like to get more. Right, so we're talking that. A little bit in. Like you saw, I had actually already preset them in. So that's where my leaf is going to come out. Right, so it is going up. So what I'll do is I'll just pop that in there with the leaf pointed upwards. Same thing with this one. I have 2 potentials. I'm just going to pop that in so it's on the flat. And then the last one, which actually I'll stick, it gets right in there. Okay. And then I will just give it a little bit of more moss to grab hold of. I'm trying to keep the cut ends from being covered up, just because they were a fresh cut. Ideally, if you were doing this, you would let it sit out for, a day or 2. Let it callus over, and then do this. But we're just going to do it anyways. I don't intend to keep this moss overly wet. So should give everything a chance to dry up, so it doesn't rot. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do with that. Everything's facing up. All the arrow roots are being hugged by moss, so when I wet it, it'll grab what it needs. So that's 2. And then my last one here, again, that one, I think I'm just going to do the straight moss and perlite. Okay, and then I think the last one I'm going to end up doing will be this bad boy. I'm going to get this guy on a pole, and then these are the moss poles that I get from Amazon, and I've really liked them. I've liked being able to stack them up pretty easily. I like the different sizes. So this is what I'm going to open this up. I'm going to get a few more moss, and then I'll show you what the roots look like under this. Now, I don't think I want to make this pot any bigger. I do see roots, but it doesn't look like it's very root bound or anything, which I know that the Monsteras prefer to be a little bit snug, but I don't think that's going to be something I want to change. All right, so you can see here, there is quite a bit of roots. It is holding a decent amount together. I'm going to do what I can not to disturb that too much. But again, you can see on how nice and chunky that is, right? So now with my watering, I don't always do the best job at getting to them, which is another reason why I enjoy the moss poles, because I know that in a pinch, really quickly, I can walk with my watering can, fill up that cup, and then walk away until I can get some more time to water it properly. So now for the most part, I traditionally don't put moss in the bottom part where it's into my soil, but this is somewhat of a soilless mixture, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but to save on the moss, I'm going to fill up a little bit of it. And then we are, what's going on with this guy? Like that's pretty long root there. I personally, yes, I just did that. So I don't feel like I need all that. This is quite a bit of root right here. It is healthy. It's good. So long for, try not to disturb the roots too much, but it's good. You can see good color to it. Doesn't smell rotten or anything like that. So, okay, I'm in. So you can see that this right here is where the back is. I'm going to make sure that ends up against my pole. Like yo. And then from there, I can start backfilling it in. So I'm going to throw some of the dirt in there right now just to try to help hold it steady for me. And then get into this moss. So winter's just around the corner. We're in September now, so we're officially into fall. So ideally, if you're going to do any potting up or cutting, chopping, propping, this is kind of like your last time. Because from here, the conditions that these plants, at least mine, the conditions aren't going to be as optimal anymore. If you've managed to have a room or you're good for humidity because of your environment, but I'm in northern Canada, so everything is going to become very dry very quickly. Now, if you're in a climate zone where you're not worried about cold, dry temperatures, then you won't have to worry as much about having to have things potted up in peak seasons or anything. So you can see that the aerial roots are inside the moss there. The other one is down there. You can't see that one yet. So I'm going to make sure that this aerial root right here, that the moss is actually nice and surrounding it. That way it doesn't have to search. It's already touching it, so it's ready to go. Okay. And I think that's going to be about it right there. I might have to make up just a small little batch because, well, where's the cup? Where's the cup? Here's the, oh, no, the cup actually fits in there. It'll stay pushed against the moss and the moss could slowly soak it up. So, but anyway, yes, that's it. I'm going to have to do this cleanup. So now I have a few plants that I will be watching, give it a little bit of a water. I'm hoping to do a little bit of an update as these go. I get them back in my cabinets, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reporting back to you guys. So anyways, that's it for now. I appreciate you. Thank you for inviting us into your home.